Did you know that 74% of people feel bombarded by online ads? And the majority feel that most of those ads are manipulative? Maybe you agree with that stat, which came from a 2018 study by HubSpot. And I'm thinking that number may even be higher. So this begs the question, when you write your copy, are you being persuasive? Or maybe you're stepping over the line a bit into manipulation. And are you falling for deceptive tactics yourself? That's the subject of this week's episode. So grab your coffee and let's get into it. You're listening to the High Conversion Health Marketer Podcast, the show that helps you craft memorable copy and messaging that connects, captivates, and converts. My name is Linda Malone, certified conversion copywriter, founder of The Copyworks, and an award-winning content writer whose copy lands my clients major contracts on a regular basis. So my mission is to help you, the health and fitness marketer, attract your ideal customer with copy they can't resist so you can grow your business. So in this week's episode, I want to talk to you about the slippery slope of using persuasion in your copy, how to know the difference between persuasion and manipulation, and how to stay on the ethical side of using persuasion in your copy. So as someone who sees persuasion being abused daily in my inbox, I wanted to shine some light on the subject. You're probably feeling like this too. From misleading subject lines to live webinars that are actually recorded, and even that shaming microcopy on buttons. You ever see where they ask you to opt in and the choices aren't just opt in or no thank you, but it's opt in or no, I want to lose a lot of money. That kind of thing. Manipulation at its best. So it can be tempting to do sometimes, and sometimes you may not even know that you're doing it. But if your audience feels they're being manipulative, that you're being manipulative, they're never going to listen to another word you say or publish for that matter. So first, let's define the difference. A discussion about persuasion wouldn't be complete without a mention of Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Persuasion, and he is actually known as the persuasion expert. You may have seen this book, you may have heard it, you may have even read it. So he talks about 6 different principles of persuasion, and that's what we will discuss here. So what I want to do is show you what is an ethical way to use persuasion in your copy, and then we're going to flip it and see what it looks like when it's manipulative. So persuasion is when you're helping someone take an action that benefits them that also aligns with your business goals. So it's a win-win. They get a solution to their problem and you earn a new client. Manipulation is when you're leading someone to a decision that primarily benefits you. So it maybe puts them in an emotional corner by using fear, really high pressure, guilt, or confusion. So persuasion is a friend telling you about the new service that they think you'll love, and manipulation is when they corner you and try to pitch you into a multi-level marketing scheme when all you really wanted was to know what they used in their hair to get it to look so good. So let's run through the copywriting examples based on the persuasion principles Dr. Cialdini talks about, and we'll break them down. So let's start with what I consider one of the strongest ways to persuade, which is reciprocity. This is when people feel obliged to reciprocate when you give them something like a gift or a service. If you have ever asked anybody to help you move, you pretty much owe them the rest of your life. but typically it's more like you go out to lunch with a friend and you both argue over the check. I'll get it this time, you get it next time, that kind of thing. Or it's when a local coffee shop gives you a free sample of their new latte and they trust that you're going to enjoy it and maybe buy a full cup later, but they don't ask for anything at that moment. Manipulation in that same situation is when the coffee shop gives you a free sample and then pressures you with, well, since we gave you that, shouldn't you maybe buy a pound of coffee while you're here, or something to that effect, where they obviously expect something in return. So number 2, commitment and consistency. So this refers to the fact that we like to be consistent with the things that we have previously said or done. So when we say something, somebody asks us a question, do you think you're a good person? And then they ask you to volunteer to do something. If you answered yes to the first question, you're more likely to say, well, of course I'll volunteer. So it aligns with what you just said. So in the fitness world, persuasion could be when you download an app and they ask you to submit to or commit to a small daily goal, like walking for 10 minutes, and you enter that into your app. And then once you start making progress, they suggest, hey, you want to upgrade to some custom plans. Okay, that's a persuasion. You can say yes, you can say no. Manipulation is when the app doesn't tell you that they collect your credit card, don't tell you that it's just a free trial that will automatically start charging you after a week. And you don't realize it until you start getting the bills. So that's manipulation. So that's the same thing. Like you agree to the app, you didn't agree to, at least not knowingly, to sign up for this long trial. Number 3, persuasion is based on social proof. So this is testimonials and people saying that they like your product or service. But this is particularly powerful to influence others when you are uncertain. So if you're not certain, you might look around to see if other people are taking that same action and then do it on your own. So you would look for them for kind of guidance. So persuasion that's legit is when a website shows verified customer reviews. They share genuine success stories. Maybe the person, tells a story. It could be a video, definitely has their full name. It has if it's not a video, it's usually a picture, a photo of them. And so it's solid and it's legit. Manipulation is when a website fakes these glowing reviews, and they usually all sound alike. Oh, so-and-so is great. And you can just kind of tell it's very vague. They show inflated numbers. 10,000 people love our product, but there's no proof to back it up. And they just pump up those numbers. And otherwise, there can be people, and I've heard of this from several sources, that they will take down any negative reviews. So there's another way that you can manipulate social proof. Number 4 is using authority. So this is when you follow people or listen to people who are credible and knowledgeable experts. So persuasion is when a dermatologist endorses like a skincare product. They cite clinical studies, they explain why the product works, it seems like it's been backed by science, etc. You decide whether or not you want to try the product. Manipulation is when a brand will slap a random doctor recommended or most popular with such and such doctors without naming a real expert or credible source. It's very vague, it's general, and there's really no solid source backing this up. So that would be more manipulation. 5, and this seems very obvious, but liking something. So people prefer to say yes to those that they like. So people who, if you have a friend that recommends something, you like that person, you're probably going to believe if they say something is good that, okay, it's at least worth a try, right? So this would be persuasion as an influencer online, probably, promoting a product they've actually used. They really love it. I hear this a lot on the radio where people are promoting things, and even if that person's been sent that product or service for free, if they genuinely like it, you can usually tell in their voice. So they share a personal story about how it worked for them. And so that's persuasion, and you can listen to them, believe them or not believe them. Manipulation is when an influencer plugs a product they've never touched, but they've been paid to promote this product. So they fake this enthusiasm and they exploit their followers' trust. And so that you can also usually see through. Number 6, scarcity. This is one you're probably very familiar with. So we tend to want more of things when there's less of it. I have seen this work on myself. I'm aware of it. I go into stores when I'm trying to choose something. If I can't decide between a particular color of lipstick, for example, if there's one shade, when there's only one left, I will likely choose that if I'm debating between that and some other shades. And I was told by someone who works in this field that A lot of retailers will actually do that on purpose. So I fell for it. And you know what? That's on me. But that's persuasion when an online store says, hey, only 3 items left, but it's real time. It's based on actual stock levels. Once those 3 are gone, they're going to have to restock. Okay, well, that's persuasion. It's up to you if you want it. Manipulation is when a store lies about their low stock levels. Hey, limited supply. And it's never not a limited supply. Every time you go back, it's like the same thing. They make you panic. They try to get you to panic to buy something, even when they have a stock room full of whatever it is. So the psychology behind how we respond. So briefly, persuasion taps into principles like trust and authority, reciprocity, and an emotional connection. And by the way, that could also include like storytelling. We make decisions based on emotion, as I've talked about often. We justify it by logic, but we all do this. Research shows it. So if you can create an emotional connection with a story, people are more likely to feel like you're legitimate. Manipulation, on the other hand, triggers it triggers negative feelings like fear of missing out, FOMO, high pressure tactics, guilt, or the fake scarcity. It's like it makes you feel bad. And so that bad emotion inspires you or motivates you to make a decision. And the thing is that there's something called loss aversion. Maybe you've heard of this. Humans are naturally wired to fear loss more than they value gains. So even this is why so many people who will pay for gym memberships and never use them, because canceling feels like they're admitting defeat, and gyms count on that kind of thing. All right, so let's tie it back to copywriting. So why persuasion works. So if you believe in your product, persuasion bridges that gap between what you offer and what your audience really needs. So it's helpful. You're out there providing a service. You're helping them find a solution to their challenge. And why manipulation backfires is you might get a quick sale from duping somebody into buying your product or service. But those customers who feel duped will be your worst nightmare. You've heard about this: bad reviews, refund requests, and worst of all, broken trust. So once you lose that trust, you've lost them. And they'll tell other people. Bad news travels fast. So you never want to be in that situation. So how can you make sure that you're really firm on the persuasion side of the line? So here are 3 ways that Cialdini, he has actually a code of ethical persuasion, and these really make sense. And it's pretty easy to follow them. One is truthfulness in messaging. So you don't make promises you can't keep or exaggerate benefits. Just talk about the real value of what you're selling, and people will trust you. And, misleading claims over time will destroy that trust. So number 2, full transparency. Give people all the information they need to make an informed decision. Disclose the fine print, pricing, any limitations or risks, even if it might deter some buyers, because they're only going to come back to you if they're not happy anyway. So this shows respect for your audience's ability to weigh pros and cons for themselves. And especially if there's a subscription fee after a free trial, make sure they know up front and that they are sent a reminder before you start charging them. And number 3, alignment with the audience's best interests. So your goals should obviously be to genuinely help your audience, not just make a sale. So when you focus on the offer and solve a real problem, it's serving their best interests. They're going to trust you, and eventually they'll become loyal customers. So in the end, you ask yourself before you hit publish on any statement or claim that you're making, ask yourself, if the roles were reversed, would I feel good about this exchange? If the answer is no, you're probably stepping into the manipulation territory. And so this framework, this ensures that you're building a trusting relationship and a lasting relationship instead of resorting to quick wins that could backfire. So persuasion isn't about tricking someone. It's about understanding what they need and showing how you can help. And manipulation, on the other hand, is about burning bridges, even if you get that first sale. So that's it for today. If this episode got you thinking, I'd love to hear about your own examples of persuasion and manipulation in the wild. DM me or comment with your stories. I always love digging into these stories with you. And if you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe Share it with your friend and please leave a review. And until next week, that's it for me. We'll see you soon.